Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to an episode of Nuggets News. Well, today I'm going to be going over some of the juiciest parts of the Epstein Files, as this really ties together so many aspects of the global conspiracy that I've spoken about over the years: Satanism, pedophilia, political blackmail, Rothschild Zionist financial control. We're going to talk about what happens next, as this is the first time it's really been legitimized for a lot of people and the general public. The first time they'll be hearing about a lot of this. But I just want to start off and give everyone a big thank you in our first ever million view week across socials last week, as the Great Awakening continues. And I'll continue to do my long form content and interviews and podcasts. We've got more survivors coming on to tell their stories, particularly with an Australian flavour, as well as those short clips which have been really popular on Facebook, Insta and TikTok, that I'll continue to do to get this information out as quick as possible as more news breaks. But last week in Australia we had police and judges arrested as part of this satanic and pedophile network that I spoke about, and then literally the next day we got these Epstein files released. And if you search Australia, 4,000 results. I think there was 3 million files, they said. So I haven't even had enough time to scratch the surface to really know what could be buried deeper within all these. And I'm sure it's a team effort. I'll keep an eye on Twitter and do some of my own digging. But yeah, this is really just incredible stuff. And I've been trying to cover that Australian connection for people because people just don't really think that this is real or could exist in Australia too. So yeah, some of these different documents and witness testimonies that have come out. Like I said, you can search different names, places and topics in those files yourself and do some digging, but it's very, very real and connects to a lot of politicians at higher and lower levels, as I've explained how this all works through the secret societies and that behind closed doors. So shout out to Shane Dowling from Kangaroo Court of Australia. He's been doing some great digging into Kevin Rudd for years and years, and we've seen more politicians and more files named in this most recent drop as well. So look, it's funny that how in different parts of the world we've seen over here in Slovakia, National Security Advisor resigns over the Epstein links, but it seems to not really be having an effect in the West, which has the most captured media, right? So, is it going to come from independent journalists and researchers and podcasters and the word spreading via social media to put that political pressure and force these resignations to come and that type of thing? I don't know. It kind of remains to be seen, right? But as Marjorie Taylor Greene, who quit politics herself last year, said, there's no voting your way out of this. It's one big club. So many people, particularly Australian influence, I've noticed, are still falling for this left-right divide, and they don't know the root cause of this real issue. Who our real enemy is, this satanic death cult and the New World Order agenda they're pushing to enslave humanity. So let's get into some of this and I'll tie it all together. As I said, so many pieces of the global conspiracy have been revealed in these email drops. So Zelensky, Ukraine, a lot of the child trafficking and organ harvesting, the biolabs, all the stuff that's happening there. We got the surface level story about what was happening in Ukraine, but it really was so much deeper than that, and connections to Marina Abramovich, who I've spoken about, and how he wanted to make her an ambassador and oversee vulnerable children. So I've spoken about how they procure these children from different countries, from youth groups, churches, all this type of stuff. And we've seen the staggering numbers of missing children in these different countries as well. That's all been coming to light. The war in the Middle East, this obviously ties all the way back to 9/11 and, the ties to Peter Thiel here and Israel Mossad, which I'll get to in just a second, but they were deliberately trying to stabilize the Middle East. This was, the Rothschilds establishing Israel in 1948, and it's been constant war and attacking everyone around them ever since, right? And now they want Iran, the last piece of the puzzle for that greater Israel project, to completely take over the Middle East. And here we openly see these, Peter Thiel behind Palantir, where they're using a lot of this AI, drone, surveillance technology already in war and rolling it out in other countries now. And that, in terms of drones policing and patrolling just the streets. But this is pretty crazy to actually see these email threads where they're openly discussing destabilizing the Middle East. And Peter Thiel obviously caught red-handed there, talking directly to Epstein and hanging out with him. Here we've got the confirmation from what so many people have said over the years, that all these enemies are actually funded, trained, given the weapons by these intelligence agencies. And so, you need an enemy to say that you're fighting and defending yourself, as they constantly have just been at war with every country around them and playing the victim and talking about self-defense. But they create the enemy, then they control the media and the agenda. Israel and the Mossad are just at the heart of so much of this as well. So here we've got Epstein communicating with Mossad through Alan Dershowitz and these phone calls. And Epstein was trained under former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak as well. So again, it's just all confirmation of stuff that if you've been down the rabbit hole for years, you've probably read a lot of this, but really just that legitimacy now. So we've got the connection there, as I said, to the Rothschilds. A lot of people kind of ganging up on Israel now at the moment, but let's not forget who created Israel and the financial system, that Rothschild usury debt-based money banking system that has basically been used to enslave humanity for the most part. Epstein's bank account was literally named Baal. You can't make this stuff up. All these secret societies and cults and this satanic pedophile agenda, it all has these ancient ties to these old pagan gods, Satanism, Lucifer, Baal, Moloch. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you believe in this or whatever. It's just evil. We're in some sort of battle against good versus evil here. And as I said in that post I put up last night, this is going to unite humanity. Once people stop falling for this left-right divide and realize that there's one enemy that we all need to unite against to save the children and to save humanity from this satanic death cult, then I think change can happen very quickly once people start focusing their energy and attention in the right direction. And I've played this clip before from Dutch banker Ronald Bernard, who actually talked about when he got invited to the higher levels within the bank and got asked to do these type of sacrifices and this sick behavior. So again, whistleblowers that have been trying to make people realize that this is all very real for years. It's now out there in the public eye. Ties to the Fed, that banking system I just touched on here, with Fed Chair nominee Kevin Warsh invited to Epstein Island and named in the files. And his billionaire father, who's president of the World Jewish Congress, says that they want to take over the schools and brainwash our children, and any politician trying to make anti-Zionism fall under these laws, these anti-Semitic laws. And soon, these people, these Zionist billionaires that are all pushing this New World Order agenda, soon you won't be able to criticize the government or the New World Order and all this enslavement without being labeled anti-Semitic. So it all kind of falls under this same banner where they try and use that as a shield to hide against anyone questioning their policies. And yeah, his son is now the one that's going to be in control in the Fed. Well, maybe there's going to be a lot of resignations and, as I said, accountability coming. So hopefully he doesn't eventually get that position, right? So here's Epstein casually explaining, you got to be careful what you say here still on YouTube with the algo and all that, but talking about how a certain group of people make their fortunes and manipulate markets and all that, and, talking about everyone that is not one of theirs as these unsophisticated goyim, and let goyim deal in the real world. And yeah, pretty crazy stuff that will get you in a lot of trouble if you said that in certain places these days. But this is all contained in these email threads, right? Again, here we've got Peggy Seagal talking to Epstein and asking if it's going to be 100% Jew night, and yeah, no goyim in abundance. JP Morgan execs, brilliant wasps. So I'll let you guys read those code words and break down as you want. But just trying to still tiptoe around a few of those keywords a little bit, right? As you know, in a lot of these countries that have said no to the Rothschild Zionist banking financial system, Gaddafi gave his citizens free healthcare, free education, dirt cheap, petrol, oil, that type of thing, and they basically went and knocked him off, unalived him. So here we can see these email threads from 2011 discussing their plans to extort Libyan officials, and this is how they operate. They try and cause civil unrest. They have these agent provocateurs come in. If they can't blackmail you, they try and get you via the media and corruption, and have these uprisings that try and seem like they're organic, but they're not. They're all just being done by these intelligence agencies. And then they run the playbook through the media, get people riled up, and bring about the change they want, to install the puppets that they want. Tony Blair, another one of the absolute worst of the worst, who was the Middle East envoy, and multiple mentions of Tony Blair in the Epstein Files as well. And of course, he was another one that blocked the investigation into the pedo type stuff, just like we saw here in Australia with the Wood Royal Commission, when it really started to come to a head, and then it all kind of gets blocked and swept under the rug by the powers that be, because many of them are obviously part of the satanic death cult as well. So Peggy Seeger, one of Hollywood's most powerful publicists, told Epstein, "Can I bring a little baby boy for you?" So yeah, this is starting to get into some of the really, really sick stuff that's now out there on the public record. Ties to the Mormon connection as well, in the Mormon church, which I've spoken about. I had Heidi Love on the channel when she spoke about her experiences escaping the Mormon church, and what really happens behind closed doors at the highest levels there. Again, guys, not everyone. It's the highest levels of all these different groups that I talk about. So well done to Sean from The People's Voice. He has been speaking about this for many, many years, and a lot of this was, debunked by the mainstream media and fact-checked, and a lot of those fact-checkers have now been charged with pedo-related crimes and that type of thing. But yeah, this is all now very, very real, and these code words that they've used that are mentioned so often when they're emailing each other, these sickos, and they're going to have a lot of explaining to do, as hopefully all this does get brought to justice, right? The Clintons named in all of this, John Podesta, that torture chamber, and these emails that they're talking about. These people are just beyond sick, right? Are they possessed? The blood drinking rituals, and as Annika said, she's seen those face changes when they do these rituals behind closed doors, and the stuff that David Icke talks about. Who really knows what happens? But it doesn't really matter. Like, what matters is what they're doing, right, and stamping this all out. So yeah, just openly talking about some of the stuff George Bush did here, human sacrifice, torture, unaliving of kids. Who knows what the answer really is, but hopefully we find out soon enough, hey? Also here, Kash Patel, I guess, he's up for treason or perjuring himself, lying under oath and talking about how there was no credible evidence of all this stuff only a few months back. And yeah, these people, Dan Bojingo as well, just lying through their teeth and covering up. Are they blackmailed? What's going on? Who knows? But the people, I think, are the ones that are going to be demanding answers now, right? Here we've got another survivor that's come out, and obviously there's a lot of ties to the Vatican, the Catholic Church, all these priests and that have been done over the years, and all the victims that have come forward. So yeah, hopefully we just get more and more of these brave survivors coming out, naming names, times, places, and then we can put all the dots together and bring these people to justice. I don't think they're going to be able to walk the streets, a lot of them, anytime soon. We saw the boos that Bill Gates and Albo and these type of people have started to get whenever they're out in public, right? So I think one of the scariest things here is that they've admitted that they've got a lot of worse stuff that they can't even release yet. But yeah, no arrests to be made. What do you guys think? Is there going to be full justice coming for a lot of these people, or are they just going to get away with it and this is all noise? I honestly don't see how, once this continues to spread through the public awareness in the coming weeks, I don't see how the world can go on in its current shape without people absolutely demanding change and calling for politicians' heads and that type of thing. So a lot of these celebrities, the connection as well, are named in here. Jay-Z and Beyonce, and this was a pretty wild tweet that Nicki Minaj put out this afternoon, where she's not holding back and talking about how all your favorite artists are involved in this and what they're doing to babies and that type of thing. So yeah, pretty wild. I think a lot more people are going to have the confidence to come out and speak up now. There's this wave of people. It's not just one or two people they can silence anymore. It's an absolute avalanche of people that are starting to cover this, and it's, I've been invited on, I just recorded another podcast as a guest this morning, so once this really gets out there into the public awareness the next few weeks, it's going to be even more wild, right? And we've got millions of documents still to get through, as I said. So a lot of these old clips that were circulating where people said, a lot of these celebrities that have lost their mind or crazy, and some of the terms that get used to discredit these people, like false memory syndrome, all of this type of stuff that's been used to dismiss it and avoid charges than that, I think a lot of people are going to start taking these types of clips more seriously when they talk about what they've seen behind closed doors. Finally here, I just want to mention Epstein and Peter Thiel discussing anti-Bitcoin pressure. So I absolutely think there's been an attempt to hijack the decentralization, the privacy, the initial ethos of the crypto movement, right? With BlackRock and all these ETFs just buying up crypto and that type of thing now. So probably a good sign if these guys were looking at ways, to discredit Bitcoin and get rid of it, that it's maybe not completely captured. And, we've got to fight for that decentralization and our freedoms and privacies in all aspects of life, but very much against the centralized options, stablecoins and CBDCs that they're trying to push on us now as part of the digital ID control grid, right? So I thought I'd finish on a bit of a lighter note here that basically gives all conspiracy theorists a pass for the next couple of decades. So, obviously myself and many others have been called crazy and cookers and whatever, but this is all obviously very real official documents, legitimized in these emails. So let's see if justice can be served. What do you guys think? What were some of your other favorite parts or most crazy parts you saw come out of it? Have you done digging into the Australian files and connections yet? I'll be looking forward to seeing if more comes to light there. And obviously the links to follow us below on all our socials in the description. And give this video a thumbs up, share it around so we can get this message out. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Cheers.